Um, Esteemed viewers and the chemistry teachers fraternity, I want to welcome you all to this facilitation, which is virtually recorded according to the demands of the teachers and the students. And I believe after one has gone through this discussion, we will all be good. We'll be good students and make excellent teachers. This is aimed, or this is focused basically to making sure that as we head to UNEB 2024 UCE, we do the best. Chemistry being on the first day, we really need to do the best. So I'll do a breakdown for both papers, and I'll try to summarize everything because at this time, we need what are the do's, what are the don'ts of these papers. So I do believe that everyone will enjoy this. And I have my YouTube channel, which YouTube channel is registered in Hyper Academic channel. One can subscribe to it. Hyper Academic channel. You can subscribe to this channel so that all time you can always get updates. I must apologize first that for O level, I had not been recording the work. It has always been strictly A level, but this is meant for O level students. So if you have a student of O level anywhere, you can share this video, or you can share the link to this video that I will share at the end so that everyone can benefit. So I'm going to give a breakdown of chemistry exam. In particularly, I'm going to begin with a theory paper, okay? So which theory paper won't change from what we know. The format, section A and section B, it's 545 with 1. So this is our chemistry paper 1. Now, a little or a brief background. We have got a lot of topics that we teach. And these topics have got learning. We have a competency and then the learning outcomes. To simplify the learning from the old curriculum that was encouraging knowledge, we mapped all these learning outcomes were mapped, especially one would find that they bring it to the same thing. So they were mapped, and after mapping them, after mapping the content, what we call elements of construct, I always tell my students, I call them families. Families were formed, and those are the families that we call elements of construct. Chemistry as a paper, or chemistry as a subject, we have got 5 elements of construct. The 5 elements of construct are distributed through theory and the practical. But the theory focuses to 4 elements of construct. And those 4 elements of construct that the theory stresses appear in both sections. So we will have all these. I think it's just a network issue, but we'll move slow. These are things we have no control over. So as I was saying, topics being many, they were mapped to develop what we call the elements of construct. And it's these elements of construct that we shall discuss. Because I told you, for theory, we have got 4 of them. And for practical, we have got 1 element of construct. Now, these elements of construct they are distributed to topics. Okay, so we have content under each element of construct. So I'll be using the names or the abbreviations of these elements of construct, but then the whole thing is to make sure that we do the best out of them. So basically, we are going to find out that this paper has got two sections. We have section A and we have section B. Each section here has got its own content. Now, section A assesses element of construct 2 and element of construct 3. So it assesses element of construct 2 and element of construct 3. We'll see what content is in element of construct 2, what content is in element of construct 3, and what's the approach to items under that. Then that automatically means that section B will assess element of construct 1 and element of construct 4. Now, to be brief, you need to let me first split the content. Then after splitting the content, we look at each element of construct as far as approach. Element of construct 2 assesses two topics. And it assesses the first topic of chemicals for consumers. So we have chemicals for consumers. Now, these chemicals for consumers are divided into 3. We have detergents, we have food additives, and we also have medicine. Then the second topic that is assessed under this is a topic of nuclear reactions. Another topic of nuclear reactions, we have what we have two processes. One can call them nuclear processes. And these processes are fusion and fission. So we have nuclear fission and we have nuclear fusion. That is element of construct 2. So implying that in section A, our exam must have an item from any of these or this. Because meaning the fact that you have two elements of construct, section A assesses 2 items because each element of construct gives us an item. So we have an item in element of construct 2 and we have an item in element of construct 3. We shall see the format of some of them. Now, I have to steal space from this side. I will come to section B later, but let me first steal space for element of construct 3. So we have got element of construct 3. And this element of construct 3, it assesses different stuff. It assesses a topic of using materials. It assesses a topic of elements, mixtures, and compounds. It assesses a topic of reactivity series. And most particularly, alloys. It assesses a topic of periodic table. It assesses a topic of trends in the periodic table. Of course, to some good extent, one needs to understand how the trends in the periodic table come about, structures and bonds. So you can't describe the trends when you don't have the concept of structures and bonds. We've got a topic of formulae, stoichiometry, and mole concept. We have got a topic of carbon in life. And particularly there, we look at polymers, we look at plastics. Yeah. These are key. Then we have got air, where we look at basically rusting, combustion. Now, these elements of construct were given names according to what is covered. When you cover a concept, and for example, when you look at element of construct 2, and you really verify the content that is covered there, you find out that these are most of the things that we use in our daily lives. Okay? So basically, chemicals for consumers, food additives, medicine, these things show the application of chemistry in daily life. So the title for element of construct 2 is the learner should be able to appreciate, or the learner appreciates the application of chemistry in daily life. Application of chemistry in daily life. Then when you look at element of construct 3, yeah, here, like using materials to construct, using materials to do ABCD, you really see that we look at the diversity and interactions, because these materials which we use, everything we have listed here affects the environment in one way or the other. So that's why we say that the title of element of construct 3 is diversity and interaction of substances and their importance in life. So we've got diversity, okay, and interactions of substances and importance in life. And importance in life. What does this mean? From these ones, you will see as we look at the approach, for these items, we will see that some of the approaches are developed from what we discuss, or from the titles of the elements of construct. So we will dig deep into this and you see how best we can answer these items. So this is section F for you. You need to note, but the whole thing will be on how do we approach these items. If you capture that, we are going to continue, because since it's a recorded video, one can play it over and over again. So when you go to section B, it assesses 2 items. One from element of construct 1. Now, section B has got 2 parts. It has part 1 where where here 2 items are set. 2 items are set, and Alana picks one. Even in part 2, 2 items are set, and Alana picks 1 item. For section A, if I may take you back shortly, for section A, 2 items are set in section A, and Alana must do both. But each element of construct or each family gives us an item. So what does it mean? Alana in total, if he picks one here, or if she picks one here, and she picks one here, and he or she picks one from section A, then it happens that totally we have a paper where Alana is doing 4 items. Now for section B, element of construct 1 has got what we call the industrial processes. It has got the industrial processes. Now this will be like our item 3 and 4, because we already have item 1 and 2 from section A. However, if the order changes, please, we are not prophesying the order here. If the order changes and they bring element of construct 1 as part 1, whatever, provided you know they come in section B, where you're supposed to write essay form of answering. So basically, under industrial processes, we've got very many industrial processes. The industrial processes we've got include, we have those of extraction. And for extraction, the key metals extracted, maybe you can talk about aluminium. Allow me use a symbol, Al. Iron, copper. These are key metals extracted. Then we've got other industrial processes that lead to production of certain products, like manufacture of ethanol, manufacture of soap, manufacture of oxygen, manufacture of chlorine. These are chemicals. Manufacture of sodium hydroxide, manufacture of sulfuric acid, manufacture of fertilizers, purification of crude oil. You talk about, or refinery of crude oil. Then, yeah, I think basically these are the key ones that we can maybe talk about. We have detergents. We have cement. We have lime, full stop. Now, out of all these processes, 2 will be picked. And out of 2, Alana will do 1. So that is it. We will see the criteria. And actually, when I'm discussing, I prefer starting from section B. So that's what I will start with. Then part 2 assesses natural resources. This element of construct is for natural resources. So a learner must appreciate the existence of natural resources. So the element of construct 4, which also appears in section B, assesses natural resources. And here, the key thing is that a learner appreciates the existence of these natural resources in the environment, and also appreciate the importance in everyday life. So that is what a learner must appreciate. And these natural resources include air, include water, include rocks and minerals, include fossil fuels, include carbon-based fuels, so an item here is set, or actually two items are set, and one still picks one. The beauty of this thing is, the moment you've understood the basis of assessment or the criteria, the scoring criteria, or how best you can answer these items, then you're very good to go. So for instance, as I said, I'm going to start with section B. We shall analyze one element of construct after the other. Let's begin with section B. And I'm going to begin with items 3 and 4. I'm going to assume that element of construct 1 of industrial processes is the one that has assessed these first. Order may or may not change, but I'm assuming that the order has not changed. But the whole thing is they're in section B. So here we have industrial processes. Now, when you check the syllabus very well, when this topic is being taught, learners are taken through the processes, how those processes occur. But you realize that when these processes are occurring, a lot of things happen. And if all these processes, when they're taking place, when they're being carried out, some challenges happen. They come out with some side effects. But these side effects have got solution. But regardless, these processes are of importance or of a benefit to people. So that is what the syllabus stresses out. Now, when you're answering an item on industrial processes, those manufacturing processes, etc., I think this summary can be in your mind. Okay? This summary can be in your mind. One, this is what you call the basis. If you want to score, what should be in your essay? As I told you, these are essay type of questions. Number one, this process of production, you should be knowing it very well. So process of production. When you describe your process of production, you will get all the 3 scores. It is given 3 scores. But you'll get these 3 on a principle that you have given all the raw materials used, all raw materials within the process. Initially, what we've been knowing, when you state the raw materials separately, we are giving 2 marks. But realize that these raw materials are the same raw materials which you've written in the process, and therefore brought those 2 things together. So even if you state them aside separately, you must go ahead and make sure they appear in your process of production. There are those raw materials which, when they are absent, still the product can be formed. For example, in soap, if I don't have perfumes, still I'll produce soap, but with no perfumes, which is not having that nice scent. Meaning, when I say all raw materials are all the raw materials required to make the product produced. So you must have all the raw materials, and you must make sure that your process of production has got a vessel in it. A vessel, I mean, when you are carrying out an industrial process, we do not use raw materials. Sorry, we do not use apparatus. Apparatus is for the laboratory scale. So when I say a vessel, this is an equipment, or this is a container okay, that is used because the process cannot take place in hands. So you must avail a vessel. You must describe the chemical processes. I'm going to use this such that I save time. You must describe the chemical processes involved. You must discuss the physical processes involved. You should talk about the purification. You should clearly show how you have converted to the final product. Conversion to final product. And you should also make sure that your steps are coherent. That is when you'll score these three, when all these ones have been looked at. So I repeat, when you state the raw materials separately, like you've been doing, I don't want us to feel like things have been changed. No, no. Condensed marks have reduced, condensed. So implying that even if you state your raw materials as raw material, make sure that within the process of production, all those materials you've stated above are appearing here, nothing changed. Then vessel, you must include it. When I say chemical processes involved, I want you to quote me well. If someone says sulfur is burnt in oxygen to produce sulfur dioxide, that's a chemical process explained or described. Okay. If you say that the ore is mixed with hot concentrated sodium hydroxide to form sodium aluminate, that's a chemical process described. Okay, question is your part. Here, if you've explained your chemical process well, equation is not necessary. However, I would encourage those people who will offer the subject next year in A level to have these equations in mind. Because here the competence is, can a learner easily suggest the chemical process taking place? If you can go ahead and write a correct equation, fine. If you cannot write it, leave it. Physical processes. Not all processes, maybe not all industrial processes will need every physical process. But when we say physical process here, that's when I suggest conditions of like heating, cooling, all those are physical changes that take place. When one is, for example, manufacturing oxygen, where they do liquefaction or liquefaction, we need to see how are those physical processes taking place. Purification, how are you purifying what you're making? If you're making soap, how did you purify? If you're making oxygen, how did you remove dust particles? If you're making iron, how do you remove the impurities? If you're extracting copper, how do you remove the impurities? For each and every process, purification. How do you convert to the final product? If you're doing oxygen, I want to see how did you carry out fractional distillation. Briefly, don't talk for ages. Just briefly talk about how you've converted to the final product. How have you converted to copper? By electrolysis. That step, we need it. Electrolysis of copper to sulfate solution as an electrolyte using copper electrodes with the pure copper as the cathode and impure copper as the anode. And pure copper, is deposited at the cathode. If you can write the equation, please make sure it is correct. If you cannot write the equation, no one will arrest you because of the 3 marks that you cannot write the equation. Coherent. How chronologically flowing are your steps? So from one step, I should see that these steps are really leading me to something. So that is how you score on the process of production. 2, we have dangers and mitigation. Dangers and mitigation. It is also given 3 scores. On a principle that, I'm going to use letter D to represent dangers. On a principle that you identify a danger, that's why I'm saying DI, you can explain that danger, what it leads to. Maybe D, danger explained. You can mitigate the danger, DM. So whenever you give a point, has a danger been identified? But these dangers are of the process. Don't give us dangers of using the products. Dangers of the process associated with the process of production. Identify a danger, explain a danger, mitigate that danger. 1 point is enough because the competence is not how many points you can easily give, but how competent you are in suggesting the dangers that might be associated with the process. So make sure that the point you give, even if you're the one marking it, qualifies to have 3. And let's be smart as we present these dangers. Don't just say that the process produces this. We need to see if it is air pollution, where is it coming from? To what extent is it as a result of the process? So we need to know what is causing these things that are happening, right? Okay, so danger identified, danger explained, danger mitigated. I always say, how is that the basis of the danger? Where is it coming from? Yes, it is by the process, but how is it happening? What is it going to lead to if you explain it, go into details? If you say that maybe the process involves machines which run on fuels, when these carbon-based fuels burn, they produce toxic acidic gases like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide, which cause acid rain. Acid rain leads to crumbling of buildings. Then you say, how is it mitigated? How can that be mitigated? So as a candidate right now, or as teachers, let's advise our students to have their points summarized. How they will be presenting this work matters, because it's not about how many points he or she can give, but how he or she gives the point. So danger identified, danger explained, danger mitigated. And finally, 3, we have benefits, social. This must be social benefit. Social benefits also square 3. Now here, still, social benefit identified, social benefit explained, social benefit. Okay, actually, social benefit identified, the effect of the social benefit, and the impact of the social benefit. Impact. If you said employment, let these points, because we are not interested in the quantity, so let your points be clear. If as a student you write a point, ask yourself, does it score me 3? If you say employment opportunities, yes, you've stopped here. You've identified a social benefit. But if you're a teacher and I give you a pen, can you put more ticks on that? Not really. Tell me what is associated with employment. The local people will get or will earn income, maybe through provision of manual or skilled, some are skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor. They will get income. So what is the impact of that? What is the impact of that benefit? When they get income, they can live improved standards of life. Or alternatively, one can say, they can easily bring the social needs or basic needs, or close to them. So you need to make sure that whenever you state a point, it takes 3. Always try squaring it by yourself and see whether it really qualifies. And here, when we say social benefits, we say social benefits of the process. So we don't expect points like ethanol is going to be sold of the process. We don't need for the product, but for the process. Of what social benefit is that process? to the people. Social. Because if you say alcohol or ethanol will be sold, how about people who do not take it? How will they feel? So we want your point here not to be controversial or to favor a certain group of. But when I say employment, at the sites you've seen this at industries, there are different people availing services. So different people avail services. So that's why I wouldn't expect something like one saying, maybe something is sold for income. Not everyone will access that. If it is manufacture of oxygen, don't say oxygen will be used in the hospitals. You saw how people are dying in COVID simply because they were not affording the oxygen. So even if you make it as cheap as you may imagine, there are some group of people in the country who won't manage it. So that's why we say those points must be social benefits. They shouldn't be controversial. They shouldn't be victimizing a certain group of people. All right, so that is an item. And the total scores you can see 3, 3, 3. So these items now are on 9. Initially, they were on 11 simply because we were stating raw materials separately and square them too. But then they can fix together. So when you're giving such, let me see if I can give us something to do with this item. For example, if you consider this item that I'm going to share here, it's about extraction of copper. It's about extraction of copper, but I'm just considering it for the sake. Okay, I'm just considering it for the sake of discussion. And then maybe giving us approach basing on the item shared. Okay, so I will I'll be answering this item that I'm going to share basing on what I have discussed for you. So this is the item here, item 3, and it is reading that Uganda Electrical Engineers Forum has raised a concern of reduced copper wires in the country. In response, the government has contracted an investor to set up a new copper extraction plant in Kasese, a copper ore-rich district. The members in the area where the plant is going to be set up seem not to understand how possibly they will benefit and are lamenting that their land is going to be stolen. They also do not understand how the entire process will be carried out and its impact. It's a bit open, but it is going to bring out what exactly I was explaining. So as a chemistry student, create a sensitization message to the locals to settle their doubts before the final interaction of the investor, of the government with the investor is carried out. Okay, so now looking at this kind of item, we must be smart as we approach it. We must be very, very, very smart as we approach this kind of item because it is very easy, but I want to show you that the key things maybe, I may not write the entire process of production, but I will give us key ideas. For example, while I'm answering this, I will first state the raw materials. Even if I state them separate, because I don't want to seem like everything changed or what. No, I can state them, but then in my process of production, okay, I can still engage them in the process of production. So I'll begin by saying, of course, the raw materials, if I'm to be smart enough, maybe I can first have them here. I need copper pyrites. I will need palm oil. I will need copper 2 sulfate solution because of electrolysis. I will need water, and I will need silicone for oxide or silicon dioxide. So during the process of production, now we start. Copper pyrites, or the ore, is crushed into powder and mixed with water. I think copper pyrites, or that this is our ore, is crushed first into powder and mixed with water, which water is containing palm oil. This is a frothing agent, palm oil, in a concentration tank. By saying concentration tank, I'm bringing out the vessel ready. In a concentration tank. What's the role of water? Water wets the impurities, making them sink to the bottom. What is the use of palm oil? While palm oil wets the ore and makes it float to the surface. What next? Compressed air is blown through the mixture to agitate it. The froth is skimmed off, acid added to break it down. You filter it off and you dry it. Then what next? The concentrated and the dried ore is roasted in air to obtain iron 2 oxide. Is roasted in air. I'm describing a chemical process there. Is roasted in air to obtain, I'm listing the products, iron 2 oxides, copper 1 sulfide, and sulfur dioxide. I continue. The roasted product now is heated in a furnace with the silicon dioxide. To do what? To remove iron 2 oxide as an impurity, which is removed as iron 2 silicate, a slag, which is removed and poured away. Now, the smelted product is heated in a controlled amount of air to convert it to impure copper. I need to purify. The impure copper is purified by electrolysis, using impure copper as anode and pure copper as cathode in an electrolytic cell, that is a vessel, containing acidified copper 2 sulfate solution as an electrolyte. What happens? Impure copper dissolves to form copper 2 ions, while pure copper is deposited at the cathode. I get all the marks. When I continue, for the side effects of the process or the danger, I would say during the process of roasting, sulfur dioxide is produced. And this leads to precipitation of acid rain. Acid rain leads to crumbling of buildings. This can be mitigated by neutralizing the sulfur dioxide before being released. Like that. Social benefit. The process is a source of employment to people. People earn income and improve their standards of living. Something like that. So we say the process, danger, and social benefits. So one can have this PDB as maybe an acronym for understanding that element of construct very well. I guess I am clear. For any comments, I'll be able to see them when you post them on my channel. I'll be able to see the comments and maybe act accordingly. So that is element of construct 1, EOC 1, but in section B, having industrial processes. Okay, let me take you to element of construct 4. Element of construct 4, which is the natural resources. We say that this is assessed in section B also. Let me assume the other one was 3 and 4. This is item 5 and 6 now. Item 5 and 6. So in item 5 and 6, you choose one that is easy for you. What happens in this process, in these natural resources? In natural resources, when we are teaching these natural resources, according to the syllabus, we always give the category where they lie. Because you find out that the items under here, they are stressing a point where maybe human activities have led to destruction of these resources. Because it is human activities that affect air, human activities that affect the water we use, human activities that deplete rocks and minerals. So I was saying, it is the human activities that deplete the rocks and minerals. It is the human activities that affect the air we breathe, the air we use for different things. It is human activities that affect almost every natural resource. So that's why we are saying your message here to the community people should let these people know that these things they are doing, their human activities they are carrying out, will affect them their entire life. How? They will affect some of the resources which are not replaceable, though some are replaceable. So that's why the first thing a learner should do is to give the composition of the natural resources. Sorry, to give the category of a natural resource. Where does this natural resource lie? So it's a matter of a learner reading an item, understand which human activities are being carried out, which natural resources they are affecting, and what categories are those natural resources. So it so happened that a learner must know what category. Category, that's the first thing. And categories of natural resources are renewable. We've got renewable and non-renewable. But it's not just a matter of giving a category. You must go ahead and give a reason and example, as well as the components of that example. Components. Initially, we were giving them separately, but bringing them together now has made us reduce the marks. So initially, you'd give category, then you find another basis is composition. So nothing has changed. Keep doing what you've been doing. You will score the marks. So also here, give a reason, example, and components. So the whole thing is without composition, what I want you to note, without composition, by you failing to give the composition of these natural resources, then the overall score is 0. So this one is given 3. But on a principle that you can identify category, you can give a reason, which reason can be like a definition. You can give example, and you can give the composition of that example. I'll give you an example. I'll show you an example. That is category thing. 2, we have the impact of human activities. Human activities to the natural resource. You give the impact of the human activity or human activities to the natural resources, and then after you've given that, after you've given these impacts, you have to explain, and of course you have to mitigate any negative aspect. You have to give mitigation. There are supposed to be 3 scores, implying that even if they have not specified human activities, you should be in position to identify which human activities are affecting which natural resources, how, what it leads to, and then you should be able to mitigate. Okay. You should be able to mitigate. So these are 3 scores. Then finally, we have the third basis, which is benefit explained. Benefit of any natural resource explained. Benefit explained. These are 2. It is advisable that you maintain these ones which you've given. If you gave, for example, air, maybe air is renewable, reason it can be replaced. Components, you've given all the components of air. Then let's continue to see the human activity, how it will pollute that air and what it will lead to. And let's here give the benefit of air. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of the numbers, and we see how best it can make sense. Item 5 is here for us. Let me consider item 6. Natural resources have been destroyed as a result of human activities and increasing population. This has attracted the attention of NEMA officials. So that is evident. People carry out A, B, C, D, and they really affect the environment. So the officials have planned to create awareness to people countrywide through organizing various workshops in different regions of the country. As a chemistry learner, prepare a short presentation that you will deliver during a workshop organized in your area. Now, something like this, we've seen human activities have been carried out and they have caused a lot of harm to an extent that NEMA has come into action. So you've been invited, maybe they wanted to write a sensation message you should give in case you would communicate on this meeting. So the whole thing here is, as a learner of chemistry, you need to know some of the examples of the human activities and which natural resources they affect. This was an open question. So we are saying, first begin by giving us the categories of natural resources. First categorize for us the natural resources. Natural resources are categorized as renewable and non-renewable. Renewable are those ones which can be replenished, sustained, or replaced. They include air, water. You already have all those, but then go ahead and give us the composition. Go ahead and give us the composition of air. At least 3 components. If you say water, at least 3 components. Let these components be chemical components. If you say, if it is maybe carbon, if it is affecting like natural vegetation which has carbon, let's see composition, because carbon or charcoal, something like charcoal has many components even in it: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, small amounts though, but their composition. Okay, so So, that is it. So you will only score 3, okay? You will only score 3 if and only if you've identified a category, you've explained the category, you've given an example, and you've given the components of that category, of that example you've given. Okay? So, after you've done that, then you go ahead and talk about human activity. Which human activity, which impact, what impact is that human activity to the natural resource, and what's the mitigation? So for instance, one would talk about maybe mining, like sand mining. How does it affect some natural resources like air, production of dust, even those machines used their fuels burning to produce smoke, all those toxic gases, which cause A, B, C, D. Let the impact be clear and let the mitigation be clear. So here you have to show how a human activity affect the natural resource and how this can be mitigated. Then after showing that, we need to know of what importance, of what benefit, now not social benefit, any importance, of what importance, of what benefit is the natural resource. Of what importance is air? Let these people appreciate that air is important, such that they do less of things that would harm it. Let these people appreciate that water is important, rocks are important, minerals are important. So here, so what I was saying is that for that case, you must explain the importance of a natural resource. You must explain the importance of a natural resource. Now, that's section B for you. That I made a simple acronym for that number, CHB, so that one needs to know. Category, you know the components in the category. You must give a category, you must give a reason, you must give example with the composition. You must talk about the human activity, the impact it has to the natural resource, and the mitigation. You have to explain the benefit. At this point, section B is done. I got section A. I'll begin with element of construct 1. Sorry, element of construct 2, which we say that it has chemicals for consumers, and it also has nuclear processes. However, we may not look at all those examples, but I'm just giving us the highlights. Now, here, element of construct 2 you find that an item has been set on food additives, on detergents, and on medicine. But we need to know to what extent, or what's the scoring approach? What's the approach of those items? Okay, we need to know what's the approach of those items. So a learner needs to know the categories. Needs to know the categories. But now the category goes with a function. We're squaring. However, the items, of course, I don't want candidates to be worried. An item will be interpreted the way it is. You'll answer it, you'll answer those tasks the way they are. But I wanted to show you that now category and the function have been merged. So a category identified is a score, and a function is also a score, making it two scores. One for categories, another for function. So we are saying one score is for category, another score is for function. But the items will be clearly stressing out those scores. Okay, it will be the one asking you for what to do. So category and function those are two scores. But what I want to give us an example of categories. The moment an item comes on detergents, you have to categorize as soapy and soapless. If it is medicine, it remains medicine, the category, because it is a chemical for consumer, but under the category of medicines. It is a chemical for consumer, but under the category of food additives. So don't say that the food additives can be categorized as natural and artificial. No, the category of a chemical being used is food additives. Okay, so we have a category and a function. Then those are two scores. Then, of course, these chemicals for consumers or the nuclear processes, they have got dangers. They have got dangers. So you have to identify a danger, you have to explain the danger, and you have to mitigate the danger. One can call them or DEM. These are three scores. Danger identified, danger explained, danger mitigated, making it three. Identify, explain, and mitigate. Then this is one, this is two, this is three. The last one now is evaluation. Evaluation. Evaluation involves a learner giving a difference and similarity. So this one scores two. One for danger, one for similar. Now, depending on the type of item given, you find when the things are clearly showing you what they want you to do. But I want to emphasize that the competence is, can you state the category as food additives? Mark. Can you give the function of food additives? Mark. Can you identify the danger associated with using food additives? Mark. Can you explain that danger? Mark. Can you give mitigation? Mark. Can you give the difference? Now, when it comes to evaluation, of course, if you're like evaluating soap or detergents, you have to evaluate, you have to give a difference and a similarity between soapy and soapless. Soapy and soapless. If you're evaluating medicine, you have to give it a difference and similarity between natural and conventional medicine or modern medicine. While if you're giving for food additives, natural and synthetic or artificial food additives, sorry. So for soap, for detergents, soap and soapless. For medicine, natural and synthetic or conventional. For food additives, natural and synthetic. For processes, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Similarities and differences. That's the category. So that's the evaluation part. Items, I repeat, items will bring out exactly what they want. So when you sum up, you see that this item will score you how many? 7. So finally, because I want to make a general analysis, maybe before I go, I can show us some example of this. If you check the example here, I'm still using the same paper. It may not be very perfect, but just to illustrate the action of what we are doing. So on the giveaway ceremony of Miss Carol in Keko Trading Center, everyone at the party was amazed by the good taste, aroma, appearance of the food that was served. It was really looking fresh, attractive, and it was delicious. This is the food. Everyone who held a microphone to give speech would first talk about the food. Some lady even joked that bite off more than you can chew. Thank the service provider. One of the ladies wants to understand the whole concept about this food properly. And therefore, they want you as a student of chemistry. We don't need excess chemistry because you are a student. You are not a food nutritionist. So as a student, provide a piece of advice to the lady on categories of ingredients. Ingredients are food additives. Full stop. But now in case now it stops here and they have not asked functions somewhere because we said categories and functions. Then I'll go ahead and give the functions. In other words, a category and a function go together. Let's know that. Now, because that change had not been made, that's why you see here, we have suitability of ingredients, functions of ingredients later. But in case they ask you for category of ingredient, as a learner who critically thinks, you should go ahead and give a function. Then here it was direct, possible problems associated. So you identify the problem, you explain the problem, you mitigate the problem. Then advise on the choice of ingredients. For you to give advice, you should weigh options for different ingredients, natural and artificial. Give a difference, give a similarity. That is item of element construct 2. Then analysis for element of construct 3. We've gone to element of construct 3. Element of construct 3 has got very many topics, as we saw in our introduction. So, the previous one can give it an acronym like CDE, category, danger, evaluation. CDE, category, danger, and evaluation. Then finally, element of construct 3. Element of construct 3. The element of construct 3 stresses the following. Because I told you this is where we have using materials, predictable trends, null concept, air, activity series, mixtures, polymers, etc. But I will use a simpler example. Now, for this case, because whenever, for example, you're going to construct a house, you should know which category of materials you use. If you visit any site and you ask an engineer to guide you on the materials they have on the site, he or she will tell you that we have those materials which are man-made, and we have those materials which are manufactured. Sorry, which are existing in nature. So the first thing we need to know here should be categories. Identify the category of a material. Now, it doesn't now here, yes, you're supposed to give two-way according to how we've been learning and straining. But here we look at now a category identified. Okay, a category identified a category. If you say natural, you've identified a category. If you explain it, or if you give a reason, that's it. Then you give an example, that's it. Okay, so you should be able to identify a category. I would say CI, category identified. You have to give a reason and you have to give an example. Giving it 3. Now, this is not, I always stress my learners that is stressing, as I've said. I've always stressed learners, and I will still encourage them to keep writing as much as they want. Because one may be like, but a house may have, there are 2 categories, natural and synthetic materials. So let me put both. Yes, identify natural, give a reason by defining, give an example of natural material used in construction. Identify synthetic, give a reason, give an example. Either way, you'll get 3, even if one puts for one side. Then, we also have DEM here. Sorry, before DEM, we have got properties. Now here, properties or the suitability of these materials goes with the use. You have to give that, because when the material is being used, we base on its properties for it to serve a certain function or to serve a certain purpose. So you have to identify a certain material and you link its properties to the use. So in other words, on suitability, I've always encouraged learners give very many properties of a certain material. When I say many properties of a certain material, what do I mean? Here, on house, there are very many materials you want to talk about. But make sure that the material you're giving at least give 4, greater or equal to 4 properties. At least 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go ahead and give the use of that material. That way, you'll score 3. Of course, here there are considerations that if she has given 4 and a use, give the 3. If he or she has given 4 properties but forgets a use, give something. So there are those breakdowns which are meant for the teachers. So for you, candidates, always make sure that you have enough properties of a certain material. If you have time, you can give another material and you give the use. Another material, its properties and the use. That is when you will only score 3. Then On advising, when you're advising, remember these are 6 already. On advising, when they say advise this person on the choice of a material, now there will be interested on, because by someone, if you advise someone, if I say, advise me on driving, you tell me, driving, how, like, it can't be positive all right away. So you need to identify a danger and you have to mitigate a danger. Danger identified and mitigated, giving you 2 scores. Total making it 8 scores for this item. 8 scores. What does it mean? On this item of element of construct 3, you have to identify the categories, give a material at least 4 properties under use. Then on the part of advice now is where you only give danger and mitigation. And you get the 2 scores. Previously, people are connecting this use to this, so that it also makes 3. But no. Properties are the ones which foster the uses. So that's why a property and a use go together. An example, let me see if I have something here that we can go through. An example of this item. See, I will share the same on the same paper. If you look at this exam here, okay. Mr. Don is in the process of building a good and strong permanent house without affecting the environment. He is aware that there are various materials on the market, and he also knows that in order for one to construct a strong and permanent house, he should select the right material with suitable qualities and properties. Mr. Don is still confused with that choice and has approached you for some advice. As a chemistry learner, write a message you would share with Mr. Don, and in your message, make sure that you don't forget the nature of varieties. Nature of varieties. Variety, the word variety means many. So when I say nature of varieties, those categories of the varieties, categories of materials. So the categories have to tell us natural materials, materials which exist in nature. They include maybe wood, artificial, made by man. They include, Have I said, even if you give one category in detail, it's okay. But let's always be smart, okay? Suitability here. On suitability, this is why I expect a learner to give 4 properties, at least 4 properties under use, at least 4 properties under use of a particular material. You will be competent that when you're advising Don to choose wood, you're telling Don to choose wood because wood has A, B, C, D, and to be used for dash. That's what we need. Okay. Then, after you've given us the suitability of the properties and the uses, now this comes a point. Advise Mr. Donny on the choice of the materials. For you to give advice to Mr. Don on the choice of materials, you must know the dangers associated with those materials. And let those dangers be environmental impact. Because if you ask any engineer, they will tell you that all these materials have got an impact to the environment. And that's why most of the sites have got environmentalists. So environmental impact or the danger to the environment associated with using these materials or the material you've picked, and how do you mitigate it? So this makes the whole paper go to out of 32. Different people have been marking it on a different scale, but out of 32. So that is our theory paper. And in case there comes any challenge, please feel free to address it through my YouTube channel, which is Hyper Academic channel. I wish you well. God bless you. I'll be in the next episode with a practical, which I will also record shortly.